Hello, folks. I'm Filler B, and welcome to a new series, this time of Rimworld. This is one of my favorite little games. It's a colony builder, survival, role-playing, base defense kind of game. It plays many hats, and you can play it many different ways. And I will play it this way, inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers. I'll link down to his video in the description. And the idea with this is we're building a Wild West town. A bunch of settlers have come out and have settled homesteads out in the Wild West on the Rim, and they're seeking their fortune. So we have this sort of a Western feel to our base design and our people and our ideology and how we approach the game. Um, I've taken a few mods, added a few to that YouTuber's list of mods to have well over 100 mods attached to this, noting a whole bunch of different things, including hospitality, where guests can come, um, or the sanitation one, where they need toilets and showers, and there's a number of other mods involved here. More furniture, more plants, more cooking, so on and so forth. And some of them have big effects on the game, like the plants and cooking and so on and so forth, and the sanitation. And other mods have very small effects on the game, like being able to determine more fine work categories, or being able to tell someone to gear up and go, for instance. Anyhow, we'll see them as we play through the game. I'm not going to go through the big mod list because it will take forever, but I've added a couple of mods on top of what the other YouTuber had. And just for some flavor to make it slightly different than what they're doing. I don't want to copy exactly what that YouTuber has done, but be inspired by that playthrough for this one, so that we have something, let's call it a competitive town in the same sort of story, but not necessarily the exact same story. So I've selected a site here in Rimworld. You start on a very large world. You generate random maps in Rimworld, and you set some priorities. I've generated a 50% world map, so the other half of the world here doesn't have anything generated on it, and saves in some of the load time, and we don't really need such a huge world to be able to do all that. You see all the different factions set up here. If you've never seen the game before, this is sort of the biomes, and the water and roadways are here. These are the roadways, these brightly colored lines, and little symbols are different faction settlements all over the map, and some of them are friendly to us, or neutral to us I should say, like Fenro here. For the Purple Bramble settlement, they're neutral, as are their neighbors, Lanhope, which are the Pack of Onda, a different faction, and a different type of faction. These are rural frontieran type faction, and this is like a more advanced society than sort of the cowboy-esque sort of feel for that group there. There's a tribal group that is neutral to us, for instance, wherever this tribal group down here, the Confederacy is hostile to us, as you can see down over in this corner on the lower left. There are also some alien groups. There's a crazy hive here of insectoids. There are pirates and bandits on the map, as you can see over here. Bandits over there, pirates over here. And there's a number of other factions, including the Royal faction that came with the Royalty mod, where they will give us quests if we want to be knights and dames and enter the Royal Society. We'll probably ignore the Royal Society aspect of the game in this playthrough and concentrate solely on the story of being a frontiers town. So I want to be in like a Wild West kind of setting, so I've picked an area over here I think is pretty good. We're near to some hostile factions. This Trepe Kinship of Boras faction in Trepe here, they're quite hostile to us. These guys are also hostile to us, but we have some friendly people nearby as well that we could trade with, as well as the sort of royal faction down here. With that, so we'll pick something along here. Being near the road is helpful because if you move, then you get a movement bonus while traveling on the road between these buildings. And that can be very, it speeds up the travel on quests and other activities you have between leaving your base. But for the most part, your base is concentrated on this little mini-map. Once you get into it, and you do 90% of your game, I'd say, in here. Building a base, defending the base, managing your pawns, and so on. The characters in your groups, they're called pawns in this game. So I think an area along the coast here would be nice. I have a fishing mod installed. But I don't want an area with too much of this mountain stuff in the middle, because I want a fairly open area to build my settlement in, because my settlement will be a non-traditional Rimworld settlement. Traditionally, you want to be very tight-quartered and very efficient on space, so that pawn movement time is lower. But in the inspiration of the other YouTubers series, I'm building a more open town-like settlement with houses and shops and church and so on and so forth. Which would not be particularly tightly knit together. Close, maybe, but it may be probably closer than in the series that he's done, but still not your typical formation where you build a wall in a very tightly knit town around it and you defend. Sometimes you dig into a mountain. This one seems pretty good, so let's go with this site. It's close to the road, got some water on the side so we can go fishing. And it looks pretty good, pretty arid, which I would like. Still some mountains so we can mine, but not too much mountain, right? We don't want something like this where there's hardly any land to build in, just a lot of mountain. I don't want to be digging into the mountain. I'd rather have something more like this. So let's settle with here. Let's go to the advanced. So in Rimworld, you can change the size of your map, which is the size of this, for how many cells there are, or individual little squares there are that you could build stuff in. The maker of this game recommends we don't go any higher than medium. As you can see, if we go over here, the game is designed to play on medium map sizes. Doing so causes bad things to happen, and the game may not work as properly or as efficiently. So what we'll do is we'll bump it up from the standard map size of 250 by 250 here up to 275 by 275. We have a slightly larger map, so because we're building a slightly more spread out town. Makes sense. Starting season. Let's start in the spring. Why not? And we'll set that up. So if you look at over here, you can see we're starting in the biome of air and shrubland. That means there will be trees, but not a lot of rainfall. You can see that it's mostly flat, as it's depicted on this little mini-map here. There's not a lot of mountains. Movement difficulty is 1. That's not really all that important, then because of the average temperatures here. It's quite hot here, so we'll need ways to cool us. But it would allow us to grow most of the year around. I may want to consider moving slightly further up to not be quite so hot, to make the game just a little easier. Because we're not building a tight-knit town, playing a game that automatically makes the game a little more difficult to deal with. This has got a wide range. I don't particularly like that. What about something over here? Now this is all pretty hot, so let's just stick where we are. I don't really want to go too far north or too far south here, because it doesn't seem to be too great land. And it could go over here as well on Nestor's Bounty Sea. Make a settlement here. This is basically the same range as before. Now, let's go down here where we were before, which I believe was here. And we'll see what we can do in this tile here. Yeah, it's basically the same as the other one. Alright, so we go next. We picked all this, we picked our spot, we've set up our advanced thing, now we go next. Now we pick the ideological system. Well, I'll load a saved one because I've already set one up. We'll look at it in a minute. It's called Wild Westism. Load that up. And then we'll prepare carefully. It's one of the mods allows us to do this. And this allows us to pick the age, the traits, the skills, and if they're passionate for it, what they look like, set up their names, set up relationships and equipment and personalities, all that stuff. Ahead of time so that you can get sort of the initial group that you want. Now, of course, you can start the game with all of this random. You can just randomly roll up here to get whatever sort of person you're looking for. You just want to do it a couple of random times, say 3 times, and then pick this person, get a 90-year-old with not sure what that is, but he's psychically dull and kind and has great memory. He's got decent stats, but he's quite old. You may want to go with this or not. But I've already done a preset on my own, so we'll load the preset for the Wild West, load that. And so this is the crew I've set, 5 people to start. Now, if you start with the sort of the default setting for Rimworld, you start off with 3 people who crash landed on the planet off of a ship in space, whether that be a small ship or a big ship. It doesn't really matter. Some sort of space battle or disaster in space has led you to land on this planet and be stranded out on the rim of the galaxy. And on the rim of the galaxy, you're left to your own devices to try and figure it out. In the sort of base game world, call it lore, when it first came out and sort of gradually on, is that you would try to build a base, defend yourself from all the factions and creatures and so on here on this planet, and feed yourselves and so on and so forth, and eventually build up through tech and resources the ability to build your own spaceship on the planet and to take off and leave and go back to wherever you came from. We're not going to do that in this system. We're just going to see how long we can last, which is typically what most people do while playing this game. And we're going to try and do it with these people. So I've picked these people. I've given them all names that are related to Wild West lingo and names, and I'll get to that. And then I've given them roles that suit sort of a settlement party, so they each have jobs at the beginning of the game to try and balance it out to not make it too hard. And I've also made them not too old and given them no major health things, but a couple of them have some negative traits because you don't want this to be too easy, of course. And they all start with Wild Westism, of course, which is our religion or ideology, is a better way to think of it. So our leader here, our future leader, is Belvedere, which is sort of a name in the Wild West that was given to people who are overly handsome and smooth, as is this guy. He's got a social skill of 10. He's also a good shooter, so he's going to be our sheriff. And he's okay at mining and okay at animals, so he'll probably sort of tame horses, feed animals, do some minor mining on the side, but mostly he's there to manage the colony, manage new people, talk to guests that come along, stay in the inn, and so forth. Just make sure things are going along. He's psychically deaf, which means that there's negative events in the game that are psychic drones and so on and so forth don't have any impact on him. He's also quite pretty, which gives him a beauty of +1, so people like him. And he's quite neat, so he's naturally hygienic and organized. He will not track dirt or throw trash anywhere and feels happy when clean, which means he needs to be clean, so he likes to have a bathroom, so he'll need one pretty quick. But otherwise than that, it doesn't cause a lot of dirt when he's moving around. The other pawns cause sort of a normal amount of dirt. He's 36 years old, and this is what he looks like. Our next one is Granger here. She's 33. She's tough, which makes her... she takes less damage than the people, and she's extremely hard to kill. And she's a night owl, which means she prefers to work during the night hours, between 2300 and 600 in the morning. And will get upset if she's working during the middle of the day, which is 1100 to 1800. Or 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. for those who don't do military time. She will be our farmer, our planter. She's also pretty good at melee and shooting. Most of our people are good at melee and shooting, or just shooting, because this is the Wild West. And she's a decent miner, and she's okay with animals. So she'll be sort of another rancher, but mostly the planter, and that sort of stuff. Then we have whaler here, and whaler was a term... Oh, Granger was a derogatory term in the Wild West for farmers and farm folk. Whaler here was a derogatory term for people who are quite large and big people. And our friend Whaler here is in fact big boned, which makes him quite a large person because they're chunky or because they shift their weight oddly. He's broken a few chairs in their time and likely to do more, so this is a bit of a negative trait. The big doesn't actually give him any bonuses, but it does mean he occasionally breaks chairs. He'll have broken chairs every once in a while because of him. He's a germaphobe, which means he likes to be clean, but he gets negative when he's not clean. He has a refined palate, so he eats slower than most people, and he's bisexual, which means he doesn't really care about which sex he's attracted to. He will be our main miner, as well as our doctor, and he's a bit of a crafter as well. So he's sort of an all-around man. He's got a bit of social skill, well, maybe he's a bit of a smooth talker, but not a greatest smooth talker as our friend Belvedere is. And he's 22. Then we have Kussy. Kussy was a term here. It's based off the Spanish word or Mexican word for cook, which is cocinero. So she's going to call it Kussy because she's our cook. And social also as well. Another social person. She's also got shooting. She's got a bit of intellectual here, which is used for researching and a couple of other items. She's going to be our barkeep and runner of the inn and bar in town, saloon in town, if you will. But however, she's a bit of a lush, so she likes to drink. She's very hygienic, so she keeps clean and washes more frequently. And she's a jogger, which means she moves faster than everybody else, even though for a big size, she's quick on her feet. And lastly, we have Squally, which is a term for sailors. So I imagine this is a former sailor who's come inland to settle where she can, never settled on water, so maybe she likes being near the water, and in fact she does. She's quite nimble, which means she dodges more easily, and she's less likely to spring a trap. But she does the creepy breathing, which means people feel a little creeped out when they stand next to her. As sort of a loner person, she's our main crafter. She builds stuff. She's also good at construction, so she's good at building buildings. She's very passionate about those things. She's got a little bit of minor in cooking, which is sort of like building with food, if you think about it that way. And she's a shooter, of course, because they all are. So she's incapable of intellectual or artistic, so she cannot do the intellectual jobs, even though she has a 3, or make anything out of art. Kussy here has got nothing. Whaler is incapable of firefighting, so if it's a fire, he will run away. Granger here is not incapable of anything. And our leader here, Belvedere, is incapable of intellectual and artistic as well. So neither of them these two will be able to do it. Now, relationships I set up too. Whaler and Squally are brother and sister, which I thought was pretty cool. They're around the same age. I know the number in the second thing says 670, and this one says 96, which means they're actually quite a bit different in age, but I'm just going to ignore that because it's too hard to change the other number. I suppose I can go back and change his number. What is she? She's 96. Let's call him, what's the difference? 3 years. He's 3 years younger, so that'll be 93. There you go. So now they match up in that department. Anyhow, they're brother and sisters, so they'll have a relationship with each other. And so if one of them dies, they'll be upset. They'll say, my sister died, or so on and so forth. But it makes an initial bond between them. We also start off with some equipment here. We start off with some silver, which we use to buy things and occasionally build things. Packaged survival meals, which are meals that don't need to be put into a fridge or a freezer. Medicine, just a sort of advanced level medicine, but not the highest level medicine. Components, which you use to build machinery and other complex items. 2 bolt-action rifles, 2 revolvers, and 1 steel knife. Everybody's got a cowboy hat, of course. Everybody's got a duster. We have 1 German Shepherd with us, some steel, some wood, a couple of horses, some canned fruit, and some whiskey for our bartender, Kussy. The personalities here just describe, it's part of one of the mods, it just describes some of their personalities about them. I just let this be basically random what it was. The only thing I changed was Squally here, because I said that she was submissive, and I just changed that to something else. So we didn't have to, sorry, just getting a phone call here. Just I didn't have to, it didn't suit the personality here. I don't remember what I changed her to. I think maybe responsible. I'm not sure. Anyhow, that seems good, so let's start with that. Yes, we'll confirm. Now they're generating the map. This could take a second. So the whole point of Rimworld is dealing with... So here we go. Pull up the wagon, set up campfire. This site will be our new homestead. Rumors of a rival town nearby have us worried. Who can tame these wild lands first? Who shall become masters of the West? Just a little flavor text that I included for my start here. This is just the optimizer warming up to make the game work a little better, and here's Rimworld. So this is the map we started in. So if you've never played it before, this is basically where you start the whole time. You've got this um, tiled map that you can go on. You got random creatures all over. I added an Australian mod to give us a bit of a creatures mod to give us a bit of flavor in the creatures. So we got a kangaroo. Over there we've got a boom rat, which is a rat filled with explosive liquids. So when you kill it, they explode. We got a mega sloth over here, which is just a giant sloth, and a number of other creatures around the map. Trees and arable land. These are the mountains we can dig into. You can see this one's got compacted steel in it, so we can mine steel out of this mountain, and so on and so forth. So let's think about where we want to set up. First, the good thing to think about is where we want to put our farming. There's a good farming spot up there, and a good farming spot down there, and then one over there. So maybe we'll do our farming up here, which maybe we'll put our base over here, I think. That seems like a decent spot. Not too far from the water so that we can fish, not too far from the farming so that we can farm. Unlike that other YouTuber, I don't want all my items all over the map. I still like them relatively close together, but not in sort of the compact traditional base style. We seem to have some items here, some giant wheels. This is just flavor stuff that the game puts in. This is a peach tree. Oh, we can harvest peaches from this tree. That's very cool. And an ostrich over here. Ship chunks. Oh, this is a geyser. So from here you can build a geothermal plant to give you power, and so on and so forth. So let's unforbid everything. A little bit since I played this, so I gotta remember how to do this. Orders, allow everything. There we go. 26 items on the map are disallowed. So you can disallow items by clicking on them, right? You just say allow, disallow, and they get a little X on them like this. When you can't use them, and then so your pawns won't even look at them, and then when they are on, then that's the allow there. Alright, so anybody can look at them. Let's set up an initial little sleeping area. These are all dead mechanoids, shells. Maybe up over here. Yeah, where's that food? Maybe right here. That sounds good. So to do that, we go here, and then you pick the thing you want to build. So there's orders here. You can tell them to do a bunch of stuff. But then there's other things like structure, which allows you to build walls. You have a number of different kinds of walls here, but I just want to build a normal wall. And if you click on it, it tells you, what do you want to build it out of? Well, I just want to build it out of wood right now. Not steel, not silver, not specific kinds of wood. Just wood in general. And so let's build a, let's see, so a 5x5 room is pretty good. So let's do about a 3x3 room. So that would be one wall in the back, and then 3 deep would be 4, and then the wall on the other side would be 5, and we stick a hallway in front of it. Two-person hallway, and then another wall on the other side would give us 8. Let's do that, and then we want 1, 2, 3, and then another room. 1, 2, 3, and another room, and 1, 2, 3, another room, and 1, 2, 3, and another room. And I'll probably, let's 3, take that across, like this. You just plan out your rooms like this with the planner, and then the pawns will come and build it on their own. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms here. And let's do some on the other side. 1, 2 hallway. 1, 2, 3. Then we can just do this. I can just do that. Do that. This. Build all these rooms in, and then just cancel. There we go. So now we need a couple of doors. Structure, a door here. Stick a door on the other side. And I'll stick some doors on these rooms. And then we'll put some beds in the rooms. Furniture. We'll do the double bed to start. Actually, we'll do single beds for now. And then rotate the bed the other way. Line these up again this way. That'll be good enough for now. And then we'll build a stockpile, which is a place to store all our stuff. Nearby, we'll build a nice 11 by 11 room, I think. You want to keep your stockpile centrally located, and I'm going to do this is the front here, so let's do a 2 wide. Maybe I'll do the stockpile on this side, 1, 2. And then we'll do, so you can do 11 size room, so let's do 12, 13. And then you can do 13 the other way. You get a nice stockpile in there. Stick a couple of doors on it. And then we'll zone the stockpile here. We'll bring all this stuff into there. This will give us our little initial setup. We'll have to get some cooking and stuff going on fairly soon as well. Oh, and we need a place to put our animals, so I should set that up right now too. So you'll want to do a fence for the animal. Here we go. Just a wooden fence, please. So we got a farmer over here. Maybe we'll do our animals just on this side here. Sure, with the back against this wall. I like that. So we'll do like a... they need to eat, so they need actual arable land here. Let's maybe do it just down a little bit like this. We'll do like 20... Nice big plot here for them to eat in. And we'll stick a fence gate over here. I'll stick another one over there, why not? And then we want a fence post, or a tie-off place. Gotta find that for a minute here. Yeah, pen marker. Stick that in the middle. And then I also want a caravan hitching spot in the middle of town, because that'll tie up the animals there for the meantime. Alright. That should be good for the moment. Oh, did I not get this corner? I did not get that corner. Now in Rimworld, it doesn't really matter about corners like this, because the diagonals count as a closed corner, but I think it just looks silly. We want all 4 corners enclosed nicely. There we go. That's that, and that. I think that will set us off to start once they get that built, and then we'll work on the next aspect. I also want to look at the jobs here. So this is the job manager, and you can do it as these check marks. So you just pick a job and you say, I want you to do this job. And it will do it in order from left to right. Or you can change it to have manual priorities, which is what I like to do. And that way you can set the priorities of this first, so you can change the order in what they do them. So they look across and say the number 1's first in order from left to right, and then the number 2's, and then the number 3's as they go through cues on what to do for the day. So first off, I'd like, how do I do it for all of them here? Is there a way for me to do all of them? Shift, click increases priority. There we go, shift. So I would like to do fire for all of them, patient for sure. Yes, you are a surgeon and a doctor. He's our doctor, Whaler. Nursing, assist doctors by feeding, visiting, and moving patients. Everybody can be a 3 nurse, I think. Everybody can be 3 else. Hall Plus is a special mod that allows, if I say, Please haul this now. This is the haul plus. Clean plus is from a mod. If I have an area that I want them to clean as priority, they'll clean that right away. Basic is flipping switches and so on. Draining water, flicking switches, tipping sewage, so on, that kind of thing. Rearm. Rearms turrets and refuelable stuff. That sounds good. I'm going to leave it as a 3. Wardening. I don't mind either of you doing that, including Oiler actually. Warning and entertain for all 3. I may change the priority of this to be like a 4 at some point and let Belvedere and Kussy really do it the most. Animal handling we'll leave at Granger. Let's train. Train animals, yeah, I want her to train, not Squally. Taming, he can tame and she can tame. It's good. Kussy's going to cook at a 2 because cooking is very important. Butcher at a 2. And then brew at a 2. These 2 can hunt. Don't want these ones to butcher at all. Squally can butcher at a 3 if they want to. You're our main builder, so I'm going to have you do that, and then demo, and then repair. Put a harvest actually on a 4 for most people. Definitely not for Belvedere though. And a 2 for Granger. Sew and cut. Also give, most of these people are relatively confident at it, a 4 for cut in case they got nothing to do, they can go cut stuff. Mining for Whaler, drilling, quarry, yep. Fabricate, smith, that all makes sense. In fact, Whaler, I want you to, you're doctoring first. I want you to fabricate tailor and smith first. We don't need art right now, so I'll just turn it all off. It's training. Train to fight. Alright, let's make that a 4 for people. Drug production, we'll turn that off for the moment. Refining, what does this do? Refine materials into chemicals and machinery, we'll turn that off for the moment until we get it. This is stone cutting, yep. Most people do it as a 4. Maybe not you. Actually, let's have you do 3 here, and I'll have you do 2 for these, because you are our builder. Builder first, and then make stuff. Please and thank you. And maybe I'll have you do stoning as 2 after doctor, and then other stuff. But I'll do mining, drilling, and quarry first after doctor. Kussy, I wouldn't mind you managing and scanning and research after cooking when you got a spare time. Belvedere, why don't you fish if you've got nothing else to do. Same with Granger. I don't know what writing will do. He doesn't need fishing. That seems pretty good. Let's do a 4 for these so they can deliver. There. I think that sets it up pretty good. So we have people doing our jobs. Belvedere will primarily do all these things. The warden entertain. I should put that as a 2. And then he'll try and hunt and tame, and then hunt, demo, and repair where he can. Even though he has a low construction skill, this doesn't require a lot of skill to do. Then he'll go on training, then he'll cut stone, smelt stuff, load, what is mortify? Cremate or bury dead bodies and destroy items. Oh yeah, let's do that for him. Make that a 2. Yeah, let's make that a 2, and then deliver and haul this other stuff. Granger, mostly plants. And then the other things, Whaler will doctor, and then mine, and then stone cut. Kussy here will butcher and cook, and then do the tech and scanning and managing. And Squally here will be involved with building and repairing stuff, and fabricating things and making things, and then crafting and smelting. Sounds good. Let's close that. That's manager. Schedule. So it sets it up so that you have a full sleep schedule here. They don't really need it. They'll just sleep as long as they want. This is just telling them to go to bed at a certain time. The one I don't want to go to bed is Granger. I'd like you to go to bed by 11, please. Maybe 10. There you go. So that, because she's a night owl and I want her working at night. That seems okay. They're unrestricted to any area at the moment. I'll just leave this alone. This is the animal tab. Anyone can handle. Oh, this is bonded to Belvedere. And the stallion is bonded to Granger. So we'll hook those two up. I think that does it for our first episode. So I hope you can join me in the next episode. And I'll see you then. Bye.